All right, let's talk about software quality. It's the thing we're all chasing, right? But where does it really begin? It's not with the first line of code, and it's not even with the first test case. It all starts with one single, absolutely critical step: understanding the requirements. I mean, think about it. If you get this part wrong, everything that comes after is just, well, it's built on a super shaky foundation.
I love this quote, shooting arrows in the dark. I mean, doesn't that just hit the nail on the head? That's exactly what it feels like when you're trying to test something without knowing what it's supposed to do. You're basically blindfolded. Sure, you might get lucky and hit a bug by accident, but you're just wasting so much time and energy guessing instead of, actually validating what matters.
Yeah, this is what we call testing in the dark. And look, I'm sure a lot of us have been there. It's this super chaotic space where you're just clicking around. It is the absolute definition of inefficient. The craziest part, bugs are probably hiding right in front of you. But without that blueprint, how would you even know what a bug is? You're not really assuring quality at that point. You're just clicking and hoping for the best.
So how do we flip the lights on? It's simple. We need a blueprint. In the software world, this blueprint is our guide out of that darkness. And it usually shows up in two main forms that every single quality pro has got to master: functional requirements and user stories.
Okay, so first up, we have the classic, the functional requirement. The best way to think about this is like a formal contract. It's super precise, no room for guessing, and it tells you exactly what the system has to do. Something like, the system shall send a verification email when a new user registers. You'll usually find these tucked away in formal documents, like an SRS.
And then we've got the more modern, agile approach, which is the user story. Now, this format is just brilliant. Seriously, because it completely shifts the focus. It's not just about what the system does anymore, it's about why it matters to an actual person. As a user, I want to reset my password so I can get back into my account. See? All of a sudden, it's not just some abstract function, it's a real solution to a real person's problem.
So yeah, they look different, but they're really just two sides of the same coin. You've got the functional requirement giving you that rigid technical what, and the user story giving you the empathetic human why. And a truly great QA pro, they're not just a technician, they're a translator. They have to be fluent in both of these languages to really see the whole picture. And look, when you master this blueprint, it's like getting superpowers. No joke. It literally transforms you from someone who just finds bugs to someone who prevents them from ever happening. So let's break down exactly how this deep understanding just totally elevates your game.
Just think about what this lets you do. You're not just writing random test cases anymore. You're designing accurate ones. You're not sitting around waiting for bugs to pop up. You're proactively finding gaps in the requirements before they become bugs. This kind of clarity lets you connect with the business goals, figure out what's really important to test first, and talk to developers with total confidence. I mean, this is the foundation of great QA, right here. Okay, so we get the why. That's cool. But what about the how? How do we actually do this? Well, this next section is your playbook. We're going to turn all that theory into real, concrete action. This is where it gets good.
All right, here's the game plan. First, you dive in and become an expert on all the docs and user stories. Then, you go into those meetings not just to listen, but to ask the tough questions. You're basically a detective, hunting for ambiguities and gaps. From there, you build out a requirement traceability matrix, and this is a huge tool because it maps every single requirement to a test so nothing gets missed. And finally, you help define what done actually looks like and estimate the effort. It's a clear, structured path that takes you from total confusion to complete clarity.
And this is where that QA mindset really shines. A developer might see a login feature and think, okay, username, password, submit button. But a great QA pro, they see this whole web of possibilities. They start asking questions like, what's the minimum password length? Boom, that's boundary testing. What happens if I type the wrong password? Okay, that's negative testing. Is the password field hidden with dots or asterisks? That's security. This is how you take one simple requirement and just explode it into a full-blown, comprehensive test strategy.
But let's be real. It's not always that simple and clean in the real world, is it? So what are the common roadblocks you're going to run into when you're trying to do this kind of deep analysis?
You're going to come up against three big ones: ambiguity, incomplete stories, and the dreaded scope creep. So, when someone says, the system should be fast, your job is to be the person who says, okay, what does fast mean? Like under 500 milliseconds? When a user story feels a little thin, you go straight to the product owner and work with them to flesh out the acceptance criteria. And when the requirements suddenly change, you become the team's historian, using version control to track everything so nothing gets lost in the shuffle. And that really brings us to the final, and honestly the most important point here. This isn't just about following a process or checklist. It's about a fundamental shift in mindset for QA. It's about building quality in from the very start, not just trying to bolt it on at the end.
So, let's wrap this up. The core takeaway is this: understanding requirements is the absolute bedrock of quality. It's what lets you shift from being a reactive bug finder to a proactive quality advocate from day one. And that clarity, it has a ripple effect. It improves collaboration, it makes everyone more efficient, and at the end of the day, it helps deliver a product that people actually love to use.
So, I want to leave you with a question to think about. Are you just finding bugs in the software that gets handed to you? Or are you using that blueprint to help build quality in from the very start? Because that difference, well, it's everything.